most excellent way is our subject today. October 25th, 2020, lesson 8 in our fall quarter. The most excellent way. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 27 through chapter 14, verse 1 is our lesson scripture. Our focus is 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 through 13. The most excellent way. So what is the most excellent way that Paul is talking about in this lesson? This lesson speaks of love. The most excellent way is love. Paul begins chapter 13 by talking about all of the spiritual gifts that God gives. He speaks of tongues. He speaks of the power of prophecy. He speaks of the power of being gifted with wealth and your possessions. But out of all of that, the most important thing and the most excellent way is love. Paul even says, if you speak in tongues, but you do not have love, I am a noisy gong or clanging cymbals. And if you have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if you have faith so as to remove mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. He's speaking of himself, trying to relate to the people. He says, if I have all possessions, and if I hand over my body that I may boast, but do not have love, I am nothing. He speaks of what love is. He said love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant. It is not rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoings, but rejoice in truth. He speaks of love. Paul is writing because the people have begun to rank their spiritual gifts. And now we rank, in today's society, we rank ourselves based on our gifts, based on our economic level, based on our mostly socio-economic level, our social standings. We rank ourselves based on how we look. But there are a lot of people that are ranking themselves. It's not an ounce of love in you. You do all of these things without love in your heart. You give just for a show. There are too many people in this world giving just for a show. And even when we come into the church world, if you have these spiritual gifts, you can speak in tongues. You're the best preacher. You're the best singer. You have the gift of singing. You're the best teacher, whatever. You have that great gift of doing that. But there's no love involved in it. You're nothing. You're nothing. You're not glorifying God's kingdom if you're not loving. Love is the most important thing. Paul said that's the best thing. That's what's most important. Our subject is the most excellent way, which is love. Love never ends, verse 8 says. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, and we prophesy, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will end. But love won't end. Love will not end. We have to learn to love people. We have to learn to operate a certain way. Verse 1, it says, if I speak in tongues of mortal angels, but do not have love, I'm a noisy gong and clanging cymbals. I often heard when I was younger that an empty wagon makes a lot of noise. You're speaking in all of these tongues, but you're not helping anybody else. You're not showing love to anybody else. You're doing all of these things, people. You have these gifts, but you're not showing love. Love is not involved in it. What are you doing? What are we doing if we're not loving? We're not showing love towards them. We become a nation. We become a world that we're so divided. We're all about rankings. Everything is about rankings. Income, ranking. Where you stay, how you look, rankings. Schools, ranking. Everything is about rankings. But in the Christian body, in God's body, yeah, you may have this gift, I may have this gift, they may have this gift. Our gifts may be more apparent than other people's gifts. But we're all important. We have to show love so that we will function correctly. I've said this so much. When we don't function how we're supposed to, the body of Christ has a limp. No part of the body, no gift is more important than any other gift. No part of God's body is more important than the other. Just because you see the eyes doesn't mean everything back. Let me phrase. Just because you see the front of your eyeball doesn't mean everything behind it is not important. The brain cannot say to the hand, and this is word, the brain cannot say to the hand or the foot, I don't need you. I have no use for you. How would you operate? And now, granted, people learn how to do it. But your body is not meant to function without everything. If you've ever jammed your pinky finger, or if you've ever jammed or broken or injured one of the fingers on your hand, it changes the way you function. The same way, when one of us are hurt, it should change the entire function. That love should show up even more, because the person who has the strength should love on that person who is weak. So, the ranking thing, the not showing love, we have to do that. There's no better way than to love. And even in verse 12, no, I'm sorry, verse 11. This is a very important verse right here. It says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put away childish things. Too many of us are functioning like children. We're so temperamented. We're so in the need to get revenge. We're so in a need to boast. Now, kids, before they are taught, when they learn how to do something, they want to boast. They want to brag on it. They want to say, I'm better. But we as adults, we teach them we teach them that that's not the most important thing in life. But we as adults, there are too many people still think in childish ways. When you grow in God, when you grow and you can put love on everything, major things become minor to you. Understand that. Major things become minor to you. People begin to say, how in the world did you let that happen and you're not upset? Because I have the love of God in me. The forgiving power that God has, that the mercy, the forgiveness that God has granted me, I can grant that to someone else. Why? Because I'm on one accord. Because I'm not a child anymore. I'm not a child anymore. Some of us in this world are so childish. And it's a shame. And I'm talking about grown people. I'm talking about adults. Fully grown people who've had some life experiences and are still childish. The individualism that exists in our world. The pride that exists in our world. The need to be in the spotlight that exists in our world. The notion that you are more important than somebody else that exists in our world. It's a shame. And we need to get it right. We better get it right. Because the fact of the matter is, if you've got love, you've got nothing. If you don't have love, I'm sorry. If you don't have love, what are you doing? We love because Christ first loved us. Now the ultimate gift of love was God sending his son to die for us, because that was the only way to win us back to him. Now, I'm not saying you send your child to die for the world, but this "I'm better than you" attitude has to get out of our head. The working together attitude has to be instilled in the body, the mind, body, and soul of people. The church has to instill that. The church has to be the forefront. We as God's people, we have to be the forefront. We have to push that togetherness. We have to help people. With the gifts that we have, our gifts are not meant to raise us up to another class. Our gifts are meant to help. Our gifts are meant to lift our fellow brothers and sisters up. Our gifts are meant to glorify God. If you are the best singer in the world, if God has gifted you with that talent and you're not using it to glorify God, what are you doing? It's almost like the sharpest piece of metal that has become a sword in the world, and you're not utilizing it. It's just there for decoration. It's not doing its intended purpose. Our intended purpose with our gifts are to glorify God. Now, if you don't know what your gift is, you pray to God and you ask him for your purpose in this world. What are you supposed to be doing? What am I doing to glorify your kingdom, God? What do you have for me? Those who know what your gift is, and you utilize it, and you think you're glorifying God, but you're using it to glorify yourself, you're dead wrong. You better check yourself. Make sure you're not that empty wagon making a lot of noise. Make sure your wagon is full. Make sure your wagon is so full that it doesn't make a noise. That metal is not clinging, they're not hitting each other, because it's weighed down. It's weighed down with all that you're helping, that all that you're doing. We've got to help each other. We've got to love on each other. We've got to do better in this world. We've got to do better in the church. Love on each other. Use your gifts for the goodness and the glory of God. My brothers and sisters, I want you to have a great day. My Emanuel AME church family, I just want to say I miss you and I love you. Stay strong in all of this. God has the final say. We will be back again. Trust God. Love others. Use your gifts. Those of you that are not members of Emanuel AME Church, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for continuing to watch. I just want to say I love you. Have a great day, everybody. God bless you.